Hi, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Books and Beaches. So I am back. I just want to say a special thank you for all of you for being patient with me while I took a little break from my channel. It was much needed to kind of just get myself back into the swing of things. For those of you that want details, I'll kind of put some here. Otherwise, I will make sure to put a timestamp, I don't know, somewhere in here about where I actually start talking about books. But I had a little bit of a rough fall. It was just a rough start to the school year. I know I posted a lot about that. We added 6th grade to our middle schools this year. We were normally just a 7-8 middle school, and it was definitely a different transition than what I had expected. It was just so much more than what I was used to. And so that took a lot of transition. And then I had a little bit of stuff going on in my personal life that threw me for a loop. And so there was just a lot I was dealing with there. And for lack of a better term, I was dealing basically with a breakup, and I just needed to take some time for myself to fully process that and deal with it. And it gave me an opportunity to really turn to reading and do a lot more reading than I did all summer, which was fantastic. So I can't wait to share about my September and October reading here soon, because it really, really did pick up. But I needed to take that break for myself, and focus on getting myself back to a better place. So I am so thankful for this amazing community and just, giving me the patience to do that. But I have been itching to getting back and filming videos. It was kind of hard not to be able to film during quote unquote spooky season, because I am such a big thriller reader, but at the same time, I mean, I can talk about thrillers all year long. That will not matter whatsoever. And I have some fun ideas coming up. But what a best way to get back, I guess, is one of my favorite videos to film, and that is new releases. So I am here to talk about the books coming out in November. I was super sad to miss the October video, but like I said, it just is what it is. I do have 3 books that I want to talk about today that did come out in October, just as some October special mentions, before I jump into the releases of November, and then we'll kind of jump in. November is a little bit of a lighter month release-wise, just because we're getting towards the end of the year, and I think a lot more comes out earlier in the year, but there are still some great books coming out. So let me mention the ones that came out in October that I don't want to forget about, and then we'll jump into November's. So the 3 books that I wanted to mention that came out in October that I didn't want to forget about, the first one being The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Rekulak. Now, I know I have a copy of this one because actually, I reached down here and got it. I received an ARC of this. I think I won this off of Goodreads, actually. I was really, really excited. Have I read it yet? No. But yes, so I have a copy of this, which is pretty exciting. And I think this might be a book that you can add to your Book of the Month box already as an add-on. Don't quote me on that, though. But yeah, so really, really excited about that one. And this one says it is going to delve deep into the heart of family and the lengths that they'll go to hold on to their secrets and each other. So it's a widowed father trying to make amends. I believe he's going to his daughter's wedding, and his daughter is marrying into this really wealthy family. So I had to mention this one because I was really excited. Another one is more along the middle grade YA side of things, and that was the Bletchley Riddle. And this is by Ruta Sepetys and Steve, I think it's Sheenkin? Names, I know. But I received this one on NetGalley, and of course, I haven't read it. I'm gonna talk about some of my November goals in a different video. But this is talking about, it says it's gonna be it's a historical adventure following 2 siblings at Bletchley Park, which, if you've read The Rose Code by Kate Quinn, that book is based at Bletchley Park. And it's the home of the World War II code breakers as they try to unravel a mystery surrounding their mother's disappearance. So middle grade novel, but you're getting that World War II aspect. And for those of you doing, Historathon in November, hosted by one of my good friends, Lindsay, at Lindsay's Little Library. That would be a great option for you. And then the third and final books that I didn't want to forget to mention that came out in October was No One Will Know by Rose Carlyle. Now, this one, we read one of Rose Carlyle's books for my book club, and I think that was also one that was featured on Book of the Month. And I'm trying to think. Oh, The Girl in the Mirror. It was a book about twins. Very interesting. But this one says it's going to be twisty and suspenseful, and it's a desperate young woman and a manipulative wealthy couple who will stop at nothing to ensure their worst nightmare becomes a dream come true. So, good thriller. So I really enjoyed the first book that I read by her, so I wanted to mention that one too, because I remember just like being really shocked by the ending. So I wanted to mention that one too. But you are all here for the books coming out in November. Now, November has 4 release dates in it. They're a little bit more heavily weighted on the first 3 dates. And so per usual in these videos, I am going to break them down by date and share with you what we have. So our very first date is November 5th. And the very first one that I found coming out, and like always, I've got my computer here, which is why I keep looking over this way. This is actually book 2 in the Secrets of the Nile series by, I think it is Isabel Ibanez. It's got one of those like tilde things in it. But this is called Where the Library Hides. So I don't want to read too much into this one because obviously it's book 2. But the first book was What the River Knows. I have not read either of these. Well, obviously I haven't read the second one, but I haven't read the first one. But the first one is compared to, it says it's The Mummy, like the movie, meets Death on the Nile. And it's talked about, it's a historical fantasy set in Egypt, filled with adventure, rivals to lovers, romance, and a dangerous race. So all I kind of want to say about that one. I don't want to delve too much into the second one just because if I talk too much about the second one, it might spoil the first one. So that second book is coming out on the 5th of November. One that I was really excited because I'm pretty sure I got the arc of this audiobook, and this is The Lake of Lost Girls, and this is by Catherine Green. And it says it's going to be told in alternating timelines, which I typically really enjoy. It's going to be a haunting novel that will thrill fans of All Good People Here, which, what is that, Ashley Flowers, I think. And we are all the same in the dark, which I have not read yet. It says using suspenseful podcast clips, which is why I'm really excited to have the audio. It's going to weave a twisty tale of a missing student and her sister who are desperate for answers. It is going to be perfect for fans for I Have Some Questions for You. I don't know that book either, actually. So it looks like it's set in 1998. And female students keep going missing at Southern State University in North Carolina. But we have a freshman named Jessica who is also going through her own struggles. And like she's seemingly careening out of control, and then she disappears. So then 24 years later, her sister is trying to find answers. So I don't want to read too much into it. As you know, sometimes I think some of these descriptions, put too much into it. As always, they'll be linked below. But I think we're going to bounce back and forth between the 2 timelines, which could be really interesting. So it says, in the present, one sister searches to untangle a complicated web of lies. In the past, the other descends ever deeper into a darkness that will lead her to her ultimate fate. So we shall see. All right, after that, we have Before We Forget Kindness. Now, this author's name is very difficult, and I have skipped on trying to pronounce this author's name every time I have featured one of their books on my channel. But this is the 5th book in this series, and this is the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. I have heard good things, but I have not read any of them. So I don't want to say too much about this one either because it is the 5th book. But I think the really nice thing is I think that at least the first 2, I believe, are on Kindle Unlimited. Don't take my word for that, but I know I've seen them before. And I actually didn't know that these were a translated work, which is really kind of cool. Although I maybe should have suspected that. But yeah, it's set in a mysterious cafe where customers arrive hoping to travel back in time. And they're going to just welcome more guests in this book. So there is that 5th in that series. The next up then is The Lies We Leave Behind, and this is by Noelle Salazar. Now, I am trying to think. if she has a different book that I've heard of. Can't remember, but I did see when I was looking into this, there's a quote here, Giving Praise by Kate Quinn. Love Kate Quinn's historical fiction. And it does say that this is for fans of Kate Quinn and Beatrice Williams. This is going to be a sweeping story that follows a fearless nurse who must leave love behind when duty calls her back to the front. So I believe it might be, yep, it's World War II. It says it's going to be a harrowing, epic love story. So a little bit of a historical fiction there. So once again, an option for Historathon. Yeah, and like I said, I never like to give too much away, but this will be linked below as well. And then finally, coming out on November 5th, once again, I always like to say this, these are never full on lists. They're just the ones that caught my eye. But we have The Nurse's Mistake, and this is by Daniel Hurst. Now that I'm looking at this, this does say this is book 3 of the Perfect Nurse series. So I don't want to read too much into it just in case, but the reason it caught my eye is because it says it was a totally unpardonable and addictive psychological thriller. And I have really been loving psychological thrillers lately. But it does say on here, so if you love Frida McFadden, John Mars, and T.M. Logan, this will have you hooked until the final jaw-dropping ending. My goodness. So, like I said, I'm afraid to read too much into it just because it is book 3, but I do love all those other authors. So that option is there for you. So that is everything that I found coming out on November 5th. All right, so our next release date in November is November 12th, and we do have a couple books coming out here. The first one that I found is called Pictures of You, and this is by Emma Gray. Now, I think this one is maybe on the romance feature, but let's take a look. So it says, if you knew what you know now, would you make the same choices? I love when books kind of pose questions like this because it really makes me want to, not overthink things, but I love a good deep thinking question. It says, imagine having a second chance with the one you never forgot. I just love thinking about things like that. So, apparently she wrote The Last Love Note, which I have never heard of, but maybe it is really popular. You'll have to let me know if you've heard of that one. So it says, this tangled second chance romance leaves Evie to question every decision she ever made. This time around, she's seeing all the things she missed and the life she gets to choose again. So I'm assuming it's going to be some sort of second chance breakout. So very cool premise. So I wanted to include that one because I always like to diversify these lists because not all of you need thriller recommendations. So after that, a very highly anticipated book for me, even though I will admit I have not read, just kidding. I have read the 4th book in this one. I have not read another book. And this is Games Untold by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the 5th book in the Inheritance Games series. So I'm kind of mixing myself up here. I have read all of the other books in the Inheritance Games series. I have not read her book that she has wrote now that is going to be I haven't read The Grandest Game, which is starting its own series of books. So I am super excited for this one. I think this follows the Brothers Hawthorne. And yeah, I love this series. I think it's amazing. I don't want to say too much because obviously this is book 5, but if you have not read the Inheritance Games yet, that is book number 1. I just think it's a fantastic YA novel. It's got a little bit of everything, mystery, intrigue, games and puzzles, and how are we ending up in one place? There's a little bit of a love interest in there. It's got a little bit of everything for YA. I get really excited when I see kids reading it at school. And I really enjoy the way Jennifer Lynn Barnes writes. So great option. So this is going to be book 5 in that series and I cannot wait. I'm pretty sure I have the first 4 sitting on my shelves back here. So super excited. All right. After that, we have A Queen's Game, and this is by Catherine McGee. Now, I am pretty sure I got this one on NetGalley, and I was very excited because I thought this was going to be a part of the American Royal series, which are actually sitting right back here on my shelves. And I thought, is this going to be a 5th book in that series? Turns out it's not. It's actually starting its own well, I can't confirm it's going to be its own series, but this is going to be like a spin-off, not a spin-off book, because it's not, it's a totally separate book, but it says this is going to be visiting 19th century Europe amid the glamour and intrigue of the Victorian era. And it's going to be a historical romance inspired by true events. 3 princesses struggle to find love and end up vying for the hearts of 2 future kings. So kind of working off of the idea of American royals and playing with, you know, that royal idea, but where that one was set in like modern day America, what if they would have had like a monarchy, this one we're, you know, jumping back in time. So I'm excited to read it. I really enjoyed the American Royals series as like a YA series. So I'm looking forward to what she does with this one. And then last but certainly not least, and by no means a complete list, but the one I found coming out on November 12th is the second book in a series, and this is Heist Royale. I think it's the Thieves Gambit book number 2. So I have not read the first book, Thieves Gambit, but this is by Kavion Lewis. As I look here, it actually says this is Inheritance Games meets Ocean's 11, which actually sounds pretty intriguing to me because obviously I love the Inheritance Games. You just heard me talk about that. And I do enjoy the Ocean's 11 like series of movies. And so it says it's a heist thriller where a cutthroat competition brings together the world's best thieves, and one thief is playing for the highest stakes of all, her mother's life. So this could be a series I've been looking to pick up. So Heist Royale is the one coming out on the 12th. That's actually number 2, but obviously I don't want to read too much into it since I haven't read book number 1, and I don't want to spoil anything for you all. So I will have those linked below. And that is everything that I found interesting coming out on November 12th. All right, so our next release date is November 19th, and still a few books coming out on this date. The first of which is a book by Sophie Cousins, which I believe I have read something by her before. And this one is She Really Going Out With Him? Which makes me want to break out into a song that I feel like came out in the early 2000s, but I won't put here because I don't want to get demonetized, but I'm sure some of you know exactly what song I'm talking about. But this says it's going to be a hilarious love story about a delusioned divorcee who agrees to let her children play matchmaker. Can you imagine? Now, I don't have any children, but I am picturing like even letting some of my friends' children play matchmaker for me. And it sounds kind of terrifying. I've let my own friends swipe on my apps, or like my own cousin swipe on my apps, and that's always interesting in itself. So, it says, from awkward encounters to unexpected connections, Anna gamely begins to put herself out there, asking out waiters, the mailman, and even her celebrity crush. But when a romantic connection appears where she least expected it, will she be brave enough to take another chance on love? So, now, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that one because the whole least expected thing is a little pet peeve of mine, but we'll see. So I had to add that one to the list. After that is a very popular book in a series coming out, and this is Now or Never, which is going to be book 31 in the Stephanie Plum series by Janet Ivanovich. Wow, that is a lot of books in that series. I personally have not read that series, but I know a lot of people that have. I know both my mom and my aunt have read that series. I cannot believe there are 31 books in it. But it does say this is going to be the latest Stephanie Plum book. And I don't even want to read too much into this because even like reading the first 2 lines of this, I know it clearly is going to spoil things that I don't even know about, but if I would read them out loud for those of you that are fans, I think it would spoil it. So that one comes out on November 19th, I believe, unless I got that date wrong. Now that I'm looking at that, I think I might have the date wrong. Hold up. So let me just double check here. Oh, no, November 19th, I have it right. I'm a little out of practice with this whole filming thing. All right, after that, we have The Mirror, and this is by Nora Roberts. Now, from what I found too, this is book 2 in the Lost Bride trilogy. So she plans on making this a trilogy, but this is only book number 2. The first book is Inheritance, the Lost Bride trilogy. That's the sorry. The first book is just called Inheritance. The second book is called The Mirror. Okay, so, and it looks like The first book is a tale of tragedies, love found and lost in a family haunted for generations. So, and it actually kind of looks like it might be a little bit of historical romance because it starts off saying it was set in 1806. So, and then there might be several different perspectives. And then it's really hard to tell whether or not book 2 might be a slightly different story, but once again, it's one of these things with these different books in a series. I never want to spoil something. So just know this is the second book in a trilogy, and you may want to look into whether or not you want to read them in order. So there is that one. Another book coming out on the 19th is quite the celebrity memoir, and this is Cher, the Memoir, and it says it's only part 1. So this looks like it's going to be a 2-part memoir, and it says from the iconic artist and actor. It says the extraordinary life of Cher can be told by only one person, Cher herself. So this is going to be Cher's memoir. Like I said, it looks like it's going to be told in 2 parts. So this is only part 1. So it looks like it's going to be a little bit of an investment if you want to read it. When it comes to memoirs, I typically like to have the audiobook, typically because they are read by the author themselves. I don't know if this will be the case for this Cher book, but if it would be, that would probably be along the lines of where I would be going to pick it up. But since she's so, well known, I had to put this book on that list. So there's that one. And then the final book that I found coming out on the 19th was Christmas with the Queen, and this is by Hazel Gaynor. Now, I've heard Hazel Gaynor's name come up before. I don't believe I've read anything by her. I say that now and then I probably have. But I know I've talked about her before. And it says this is going to be a delightful Christmas tale with emotional depth, and it says it's going to be perfect for fall. So whether you like to read a little bit of Christmas stuff early or Christmas stuff around Christmas, that is up to you. It says, "'Tis the season, the crown meets When Harry Met Sally" in the latest heartwarming historical novel from Hazel Gaynor. And it also says this is also being written by Heather Webb. And so it's going to be set in December of 1952, featuring Queen Elizabeth II. So, let's see. And then we also will get a perspective of Christmas Day in December of 1957, as the nation eagerly awaits the Queen's first televised Christmas speech. There is one final gift for the Christmas season to deliver. So looks like we're going to be getting a little bit of both of those perspectives. So if that's something you're interested in, that'll be there for you. And those are all of the books that I found coming out on November 19th that I found to be interesting. All right, so our final date in November is November 26th. I had to double check on that one. This is a very small release date in November. Like I said, I am sure as we get towards the end of the year here, our releases are not going to be as many as they were at the beginning of the year, but that is all right. But there were 2 books that I found that I felt worth mentioning. The first of which is The House of Cross by James Patterson. Now, this is a series that I had started picking up in high school. I think they started coming out in the 90s, but he is still publishing the Alex Cross novels. And these are ones that I don't believe he is publishing with anyone else. These are, or writing with anyone else, I should say. These are truly just like James Patterson himself. So this is, actually the 30th book in the Alex Cross series. So very similar to Stephanie Plum, like I talked about earlier. So it says the Supreme Court candidates are being murdered, and only Alex Cross and John Samson, which I'm sure he added at some point, I haven't read one in a very long time, can take the case in the House of Cross. So I'm not going to say too much else because, like I said, I haven't read one of these in a long time. I don't want to spoil anything else. But if you enjoy the Alex Cross novels that are written by James Patterson, this one will be right up your alley. And then the other book that I found coming out on the 26th was actually a YA book. And this is Heart-Shaped Lies. And this is by Elizabeth. And oh gosh, I think it's Aggie Meng. Oh, guys, names, I swear, and then I'm really out of practice. So I apologize in advance. But the reason that this one caught my eye was because it said, John Tucker Must Die meets a girl's guide to murder. First of all, I think that movie is hilarious. Probably more so back when it came out in the 2000s versus now. But, and then I loved the book, A Girl's Guide to Murder. That whole series was great. And so it's going to be a tongue-in-cheek mystery about 3 feuding exes of a social media prank star who are forced to work together to uncover the truth behind his death when his deactivated account resurfaces online with claims that one of them murdered him. So, I don't know. That premise to me just kind of sounds interesting. Like I said, because I enjoyed all of those different books, or different premises of that movie in the books. So, caught my eye. I had it added here just because I do love a good YA, mystery thriller. So, and yeah, sounded interesting. So, those are all the books that I found coming out on November 26th, and all of the books that I found coming out in the month of November. So, let me know if there are any other books that you know of coming out in November that I should add, to my list. By all means, these are not books that I will necessarily pick up right away or read right away, but they are ones that I just want people to know about and that I found interesting. Once again, I so appreciate everyone being patient with me while I took a break from my channel and just kind of got myself back on track. This is such a wonderful community, and I am so, so thankful for you all, and I cannot wait to share with you everything that I was able to read in that amount of time that I took, and just the things that I have planned coming up here, because I was definitely ready to kind of get back and start filming things. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed this one. If I don't even know what my outro is anymore. That's how practice I am. So, if you have any books that you've been reading lately that you think I should pick up, leave them in the comments below. And as always, I am so out of practice. I don't even know. If you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.